Hello everybody, this is Tyler here once again from the Character Workshop, where I'm not going to say the word pants for the purpose of this review. So yes, today we are talking about another Wallace and Gromit short film. So last time I covered, of course, A Grand Day Out, which was the first Wallace and Gromit short. So today it would obviously make sense to cover the second short film from Wallace and Gromit, and that, of course, is The Wrong Trousers. So, just like the previous Wallace and Gromit short film, it was directed by Nick Park, and Julian Knotts, who did the music in A Grand Day Out, also did the music in this one. Peter Sallis once again returns to voice charming Wallace, and this film premiered in 1993. Interestingly enough, it actually premiered in the US before it did in the UK. In the US, it premiered December 17th of 1993, and then in the UK, it premiered 9 days later on December 26th, 1993, a day after Christmas. And something that I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it now, it's once again produced by Aardman Animations. So the plot of the short film is as follows. It's Gromit's birthday, and as a birthday present, Wallace got him techno trousers, which were used to basically walk the dog for Wallace instead of Wallace doing it himself. If that doesn't sound lazy to you guys, I don't know what is. However, unfortunately for Wallace, he's also got bills to pay, so in order to be able to pay his debts, he decided to let a spare bedroom in the house available for rent. And it's rented by quite an unexpected character, an unknown penguin. So instead of being in the spare bedroom that Wallace allowed the penguin to stay in, the penguin instead decided to stay in Gromit's room. So because of that, Wallace had to let Gromit stay in the spare bedroom instead. This eventually led a bit of tension between Gromit and the penguin, to the point where the penguin started treating Wallace very well, to the point where Gromit has had enough and decided to leave Wallace. In an earlier scene in the short, Gromit was using the techno trousers that Wallace gave him to walk on walls to paint the ceiling of the spare bedroom. The penguin saw this and saw this as a perfect opportunity for his next plan. So as soon as Gromit leaves Wallace, the penguin takes the trousers and rewires them to be controlled by radio. While Gromit is out in the city streets trying to find a new place to live, he finds a poster of a criminal by the name of Feathers McGraw, and then Gromit just realized that it's the same penguin who rented the room in Wallace's house, but instead has a rubber glove on his head to make him look like a chicken. And then later on that day, Feathers McGraw uses the techno trousers to test out on Wallace around town. During this event, Gromit realizes that Feathers rewired the trousers to be controlled by radio control, so Gromit then spies on Feathers, and it's revealed that Feathers is planning on using the trousers to get into the city museum and steal a diamond inside the museum. Afterwards, while Wallace is asleep, Feathers once again takes control of the trousers and takes Wallace to the city museum to steal the diamond. Feathers was almost successful with this, however he accidentally triggers the alarm, waking Wallace up, all startled about where he was. Feathers then takes Wallace back to the home and puts him in the wardrobe closet at gunpoint. As soon as the both of them get back home, Gromit then tries to confront Feathers, but then Feathers has him at gunpoint as well, and traps Gromit in the wardrobe covered alongside Wallace. So then Gromit rewires the trousers to get him and Wallace out of the wardrobe closet. So he and Wallace then go after Feathers in a very awesome chase scene with the model train set. After a little while, the chase scene soon stops as the train that Feathers McGraw was on collides with the techno trousers, and Gromit eventually captures Feathers in a milk bottle. So then both him and Wallace take Feathers to the police, and instead of putting Feathers in an actual prison like most bad guys, they actually imprison him in a zoo, since he's a penguin. As for a reward for capturing Feathers and taking him to the police, Wallace and Gromit were rewarded with money. So Wallace decided to use this to pay off his debts, and pretty much it was a happy ending until the Tendo trousers, which were thrown into the trash, all of a sudden came back to life, and the very last shot of the short was just the trousers walking off in the sunset with a trash can above its head. Wait, trousers don't even have heads. What am I talking about? And that was Wallace and Gromit: The Wrong Trousers. And I'll say, definitely quite an improvement compared to A Grand Day Out. First off, the animation is definitely quite improved. Now, just like A Grand Day Out, it was done in stop motion. However, I think Wrong Trousers kind of does it a bit better, especially the train chase scene. I mean, that had to have been like a painful scene to work on, and the people over at Aardman did a fantastic job with it. Not only that, this was, I believe, the first time Wallace and Gromit had their, what I would call their modern design. Their design that, like, everybody sort of recognizes them for. Because if you were to look at this short film and compare it to A Grand Day Out, there are definitely quite a lot of differences between Wallace and Gromit in those shorts, especially Wallace. As you can tell from A Grand Day Out, he doesn't have the pronounced big cheeks that Wallace is known for in other shorts and movies. Not only that, it was a little bit uncanny in A Grand Day Out when Wallace was whistling for Wallace to come down the basement, because that's like really the only time you've ever seen Wallace without his teeth. And if you know Wallace from Wallace and Gromit very well, you normally always see him with his teeth. So, yeah, that's yeah, a bit uncanny. And the plot was also a huge improvement too. Now, yes, A Grand Day Out did take place on the moon, and, well, The Wrong Trousers takes place in Wallace and Gromit's neighborhood, but they kind of made up for it because of the villain Feathers McGraw. Definitely right off the bat, the music by Julian Knotts sort of gives you the indication that, like, something's up with him as soon as he was introduced. So, yeah. And plus, in general, Feathers was, like, a lot more of a threatening bad guy than the cooker from A Grand Day Out, because Feathers had an actual weapon, he had a gun, and he was a villain mastermind wanting to steal a expensive diamond from a museum. And yeah, and with the cooker from A Grand Day Out, you know, yeah, he was, you know, very upset with Wallace and Gromit for sort of messing around with the moon, but like, he became a good guy at the very end because the pieces of metal from Wallace and Gromit's rocket ship, he later used them for skis, which is something he wanted to do for a while, so the cooker became a good guy at the very end. And yeah, that's really all I need to say. Feathers, definitely quite a more threatening and, I guess, to some extent, awesome villain compared to the cooker. Now, I know what some of you are saying right now in the comments. Oh, you're just hating on A Grand Day Out. What is wrong with you? Don't get me wrong. I love A Grand Day Out as much as the next guy. But, in my opinion, for several reasons, Wrong Trousers, I think, was definitely better. And on the topic of music, I did mention music a little bit earlier when I was talking about Feathers McGraw. But, yeah, Julian Knotts, like I said before, who did the music in A Grand Day Out as well. I definitely love the music in this movie as well, especially in the scenes where you sort of see Feathers McGraw, like, you know, Julian Knotts sort of made it into a way that, you know, you sort of knew something suspicious was going on with him, like I said before. And, of course, the music in the train scene, awesome. I mean, that scene in general is, like, a huge highlight for the movie, so... Well, not a movie, it's a short film, it's like 30 minutes long, but... Yeah. And the intro music, with the title card of The Wrong Trousers, that was also, like, pretty neat. Definitely gives you a kind of a unnerving feeling. And, of course, the introduction of the trousers themselves. So, yeah, a lot to say about Julian Knotts' music in this short, but I don't have a whole lot of time to talk about this short, but yeah. Julia Knott, once again, fantastic job. Why do I have a lock in my hand? Now, unfortunately, unlike A Grand Day Out, there isn't as much, production fun facts for me to tell you, like, oh, the villain was going to be some kind of giraffe or something. No, unfortunately, I don't have any information about that. However, I will say, there has been some soundtrack differences in this short. In earlier versions, Gromit's birthday card at the very beginning played "Happy Birthday to You," da na 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 na. But then, in later home video releases and television airings, it was changed to "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" to avoid copyrights. And there were two songs that Like Feathers played in Gromit's room in the movie. One was called "Tie a Yellow Ribbon Round the Old Oak Tree." What a ton of a title. And then, I guess, How Much is the Doggy in the Window was also in there, but, yeah, there were, the film surprisingly had a bit of trouble with, soundtrack, I guess. Funny enough, the version I watched had the original soundtrack, so I was lucky enough to see the short film as it originally was. And just like A Grand Day Out, The Wrong Trousers has received positive reviews. 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yeah, it was to the point where in 1994, a year after the short film came out, it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short, so yeah. If that's not enough for you guys to want to watch it, then, I don't know what will. Another thing I also gotta point out that I didn't even realize until looking this up, but apparently this short costed £660,000, which, I'm not sure what that is in American money, but, yeah, pretty cheap for, a stop-motion short film, I would say. And yeah, like I said earlier in the review, just like A Grand Day Out, Peter Sallis once again does a good job voicing Wallace. Definitely quite the charming fella. Speaking of Wallace, there was a particular scene that I want to talk about that I think is really funny. When Feathers McGraw gave Wallace a pair of what are they, slippers on his feet, Wallace was like blow drying his head. Now, normally, if you blow dry, you know, you're blow drying your hair, but Wallace doesn't have hair, so it makes you think, why are you even using a blow dryer if you don't have hair, Wallace? But all in all, that's all I gotta say about Wallace and Gromit: The Wrong Trousers. Definitely give it a watch. It's worth it. It's great short film, and yeah, you definitely won't regret it, like I've already mentioned. But anyways, that'll about do it for this review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, feel free to give a like, hit subscribe if you want to see more episodes of It Came From England, and just mediocre plush content in general. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. That is about it. This is Tyler from the Character Workshop, signing out. And next time, I'm thinking about doing something with my facial hair. Thinking about shaving it off. Possibly a close shave. If that wasn't foreshadowing for you guys, I don't know what is. Now, unfortunately, unlike shit, but all in all, I think that's all I got. Oh my god.